This is the Mosasaurus. This prehistoric monster once ruled the oceans, growing up to 56 feet long, almost twice the size of a school bus. It had a gigantic head, short arms, a long body, and a huge tail. Its jaws were full of razor-sharp teeth, and its eyes were like saucers. And it was so powerful it could drag a full-grown human underwater with ease just to be playful. And believe it or not, this monster may still be lurking in the waters off your coast right now. We've all heard stories about gigantic sea monsters living in the depths of the ocean. But what if I told you there's evidence that these monsters may have roamed our oceans millions of years ago? And what if I also told you they might still be out there? I am your host and you're watching this channel. Join me as we explore the most mysterious parts of our oceans and uncover the secrets of the deep. From terrifying sea monsters to uncharted islands, I'll take you to places you've never seen before and introduce you to the incredible creatures that call them home. So if you're ready to dive into the unknown, hit that subscribe button and join me on my adventures. The Mosasaurus lived during the Cretaceous period between 145 and 66 million years ago. Back then, the Gulf of Mexico was a lot closer to the equator than it is now. As a result, the water was much warmer and there was only one continent called Laurasia. Back then, the United States didn't exist. Instead, North America was part of a supercontinent. So the nearest land to the Gulf of Mexico would have been somewhere around what is now Kansas. Scientists know quite a lot about the Mosasaurus because it turns out the United States is one of the best places to find its fossils. The first Mosasaurus fossil was actually found in 1707 in western North Dakota. It was discovered by a paleontologist who was excavating rock in the Hell Creek Formation. The site is also famous for being where the very first Tyrannosaurus rex was discovered. In the early 1900s, more fossils were found in Kansas and Texas, and today, we even have a fossilized skull sitting on display at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. Based on the number of fossils we've found, scientists estimate that mosasaurs lived in the shallow coastal waters of the interior seaway that stretched from the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. They probably preferred murky water close to shore, much like today's crocodiles. But despite their crocodile-like preferences, mosasaurs weren't actually reptiles. They're actually marine mammals, more closely related to whales and dolphins than to crocodiles. Scientists think they evolved from terrestrial mammals that returned to the sea. At some point, however, their front legs disappeared altogether. Today, the only trace of them can be seen in two small bumps on either side of the mosasaurus's jaw. But while they do look like crocodiles, they aren't quite as simple. Believe it or not, Mosasaurus had really complex teeth. Their teeth weren't just good for catching fish. Instead, they had different teeth for catching, holding, and crushing their prey. Smaller teeth in the front were ideal for grabbing slippery fish. Meanwhile, larger teeth towards the back were better suited for crushing hard-shelled prey like crabs and shellfish. The teeth in the middle were designed for catching and holding on to larger prey. That way, the mosasaurs could keep a hold of it while it thrashed around. Finally, the very back teeth were great for crushing bone. In other words, these guys were true carnivores, and they were perfectly adapted to tear apart any animal that got too close. In fact, Mosasaurus was an apex predator, meaning it was at the top of the food chain. There was nothing in its environment that ate the Mosasaurus except maybe other Mosasaurus. Because of this, they were able to grow massive. Reaching lengths of 56 feet and weighing over 44,000 pounds. To put that into perspective, Mosasaurus was almost twice the size of the largest whale species alive today, and about 10 times heavier than the heaviest crocodile species. Imagine how terrifying it would be to swim in the ocean and suddenly find yourself face to face with a 56-foot Mosasaurus. Its massive body would tower over you, and its rows of sharp teeth would be on full display. You could feel the power of its jaws as it clamped down on its prey, and the thrashing of its enormous tail as it moved through the water. In a split second, it could decide to turn its deadly gaze in your direction and charge straight towards you. As it swam closer, you could see the determination in its eyes, the drive to hunt and consume. Its skin would be slick and moist, glistening in the sunlight as it effortlessly glided through the waves. And as it approached, you would hear the sound of the water churning behind it, a constant reminder of the raw natural force that was closing in on you. With every stroke, it would get closer and closer, its massive bulk filling your vision until it loomed over you, the ultimate predator, the king of the ocean. But sadly, the reign of the Mosasaurus didn't last forever. 66 million years ago, a small asteroid slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula in what is now Mexico. We know that asteroids can destroy entire ecosystems. Just look at what happened to the dinosaurs. It turns out the Mosasaurus suffered the same fate. It went extinct. But here's the thing. We're pretty sure that Mosasaurus went extinct because the asteroid caused an ice age. But the problem is, the asteroid wasn't the only thing that caused an ice age. See, Earth's climate has swung between hot and cold many times throughout history. It's completely normal. And there are several known ice ages that occurred well before the asteroid hit. So scientists began to wonder if the asteroid was the only reason why Mosasaurus went extinct. After all, it survived several ice ages prior to the asteroid impact. Perhaps it was already weakened and unable to adapt to yet another climate swing. And speaking of surviving ice ages, let's talk about the Megalodon. This massive shark grew up to 70 feet long and 100 million years ago. It was the apex predator of the oceans, but just like the Mosasaurus, it too died out. Again, it was probably due to an ice age. However, there's a catch because there's also evidence that Megalodon went extinct because of Mosasaurus. What? You see? Both animals were apex predators. When two apex predators compete, only one comes out on top. Unfortunately for the Megalodon, that wasn't going to be it. You see, Megalodon was a scavenger, mostly fed on dead animals floating on the surface of the water. Mosasaurus, on the other hand, was an active hunter, constantly searching the ocean floor for live prey. But there was a problem. See, the Mosasaurus was getting too good at hunting, was wiping out so many animals that the ocean was beginning to run out of food. When this happened, Mosasaurus began hunting Megalodons. Were perfect prey because they were full of fat and energy. Plus, they were already used to being hunted by killer whales. So when Mosasaurus started attacking, the Megalodons couldn't evolve fast enough to defend themselves. To make matters worse, Mosasaurus probably worked in groups. They'd gang up on Megalodons, biting chunks out of their fins and tails. When this happened, the Megalodons couldn't escape. They were basically sitting ducks. Over time, the Megalodon population dwindled until there weren't enough left to successfully breed. The species died out. And afterwards, the Mosasaurus became the undisputed apex predator of the oceans. Then came the asteroid. And while the asteroid definitely played a role in their extinction, it wasn't the only reason why. Mosasaurus had already caused several extinctions itself. It had wiped out many large animals, including sharks, turtles, and sea scorpions. So it seems that Mosasaurus was doomed to fail. No matter how big it got, no matter how strong it became, it couldn't escape its own shadow. But here's the thing. All this happened millions of years ago. And since then, Earth's climate has heated up significantly. The oceans are now full of giant jellyfish, squid, and other strange creatures. And life has once again become plentiful in the oceans. So this begs the question. If Mosasaurus hadn't gone extinct, would it have been driven to extinction by its own shadow a second time? Well, it's possible. If Mosasaurus were still alive today, it would have been hunted by humans. Humans have always hunted the largest animals. For example, we nearly drove the blue whale to extinction. And I don't think it would be any different for the Mosasaurus. Perhaps today, it would be hiding at the bottom of the ocean, afraid to come to the surface for air. Or maybe it would have been forced to migrate to colder waters in the Arctic. Regardless, it wouldn't be the apex predator it once was. Instead, it would be on the menu. Today, we're discovering new species of Mosasaurus all the time, like the recently discovered M. hoffmanni, which grows up to 56 feet long. In fact, there are so many new species of Mosasaurus. It's being discovered that scientists think there could have been over 100 species swimming in our oceans. It makes you wonder what else is out there. What other undiscovered creatures might be lurking in the depths? Who knows? Maybe there's a monster even bigger than the Mosasaurus waiting to be found. If you're fascinated by the ocean and want to learn more about the amazing creatures that inhabit it, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're still unsure, check out this video. Thanks for joining me on this journey of discovery. Until next time, keep exploring the world around you and never stop asking questions.